Hello everybody. In this screencast we're going to integrate Firebase into an iOS app. Also very straightforward. Basically we go to Firebase, and if you go to documentation and then we pick iOS, and there has to be something called getting started. So basically get started with blah blah blah. So now it gives you information. You scroll down a little bit and you add the SDK using pod. Okay, so I created a project, right? And I'd like to add, and this is where the project is. It's called Firebase demo. I'll just say pod init, and then basically I will edit the pod file. So I could do nano pod file, and here we are. And basically I need to add to the pod file here. I need to add to it you can do nano, you can do pico or whatever, or even you can open it in you open the folder where this file is, and you can open it with whatever text editor you have. I like to use Sublime Text. Here is Sublime Text. Now basically I need to add some pod file to this, to some pod to install, which is this one. See, the Firebase core. Okay, we go back. I'm gonna add the Firebase core to my project. I save it and go back to the terminal. Oops, what happened here? I'll go back to the terminal, and we will do pod install. Basically it's going to install Firebase to my project. So it's a two-step process. One, you have to install the SDK, then you have to go to the Firebase console and create actually a Firebase project. Okay, that's gonna hold all the data, the authentication setting, and so on of your application. So I went ahead and added the SDK. So basically if I go back to the folder where the app is in, here it is, and I run the project now will have, let me close this and this, let's run the workspace, here it is, and you could see that there is a pod, and inside that pod file there is Firebase core, just plain simple Firebase, right? And basically we added Firebase to our project, right? So this is how you add the SDK, right? Now we need to go further. Basically what we need to do is, so basically we did all of that, right? We need to configure Firebase and so on, but before we do all of that, we have to go to the console. So let's go open the console. Okay, how do they open the console? At the top right corner here there is go to console, click on it, it opens here. Now let's create a new project, add a project. We'll call it something, right? So basically I'll call it my Firebase demo project. Okay, so that's my project, and I accept, I agree, and then you create the project. Okay, so just give it any name. It doesn't have to match the name of your app, right? But basically you're just creating a project. I by chance I just called it the same name, but now after you create it, we need to add this app to the project. Okay, so now let's see. So while it's creating the project, it takes a little bit of time, but anyway, the project is ready. I continue, and here we go, right? Now this is my project. You could see here at the top it's called Firebase demo, right? I want to add to it an iOS app. So you see here, I add an app to your project. I want to add an iOS app. I click on iOS. Now actually, what's the bundle ID of your app? So I go back to my project, to my Xcode project, and here is the bundle identifier. That's the bundle identifier of my app, right? I just copy this and I paste it here, right? Now just give it a name. I'll call it my demo app or something, right? And then this is an optional store ID just to identify it. You register the app. Now the app is being registered. Now there is a configuration file that I have to download, so I'll download the configuration file. Okay, so I will download the configuration file. Here we are. Okay, so I did get that configuration file. Let me get the file. Let's say we go to here. I'll bring the file into that folder. Let's say it's in downloads. I'll bring it to that folder. Okay, here's my file. So basically here's the file that I retrieved. Basically they want me to add the file to the Google, this file into the application, right? So basically I have the file here. All what I have to do is drag the file from here. I usually prefer to add the file into your project, right? And also add it under your application. So basically I'll add it here. Okay, So basically I moved the file into the project. Now I go back here. I'll just go here and say add file. Where is add file here? Add files to your Firebase, and here it is, the Google service info plist file that I downloaded. Here it is. And then basically this plist file has all the configuration details. So I already added this to my project, right? So if you go back to Xcode, you could see that I already added the file to the project. Here it is. Okay. Now we click on next. We add the Firebase SDK. We already did all of that stuff into the project. Next. Now you need to add some initialization code. So to add the initialization code, I need to go to the app delegate file. If you scroll all the way to the top of the app delegate, did finish launching with options, right? All we need to do is we need to import Firebase, right? And then inside the method, we just do the Firebase initialization. We say Firebase app.configure. Okay. And what we need to do is you run it. Next. Okay, so I ran the app. Okay, you see here it's checking to see if the app has communicated with our servers and so on. This is just to verify that the wiring between the app and the server is okay. Now we'll see. Here we are. I did run the app, right? Nothing is happening here. We just need to communicate. So we can skip the step, or we can communicate with the server to make this happen. But we will skip this step for the time being. Okay, skip the step. And if everything runs okay and you don't see any error messages here, if you scroll to the bottom here, you could see that there is no warnings. Basically, it's telling you that, see, it's trying to get into the app, it connected to Firebase Analytics, enabled logging, blah 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 blah. Okay, so basically we have integrated Firebase into our app. Basically, you have an app that is able to communicate with Firebase. Now, or you have an app that is integrated with Firebase now. The steps are very straightforward. We add the pod file, we add the required pods, this is the bare minimum, Firebase core, just the Firebase, simple Firebase. There's no Firebase authentication. There is another pod for Firebase authentication that you need to add, and so on. But we added the Firebase core. Then we went to the app delegate. We did finish launching with options. We configured Firebase. And we have to create a project and add our application to the project. Okay, you could click here. This is the iOS app that we added to the project. You can edit some things, maybe, and so on. You can get the file, the Google service info plist file, which we added in here. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so basically it has some keys and some authentication stuff that you need, and so on. Right. So basically that's the how you integrate Firebase into your project. Okay, in the next screencasts, we're going to use actually Firebase, okay, to do something, okay? Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.